You don't lose control because your emotions are too strong. You lose control because they are too vague. When an emotion has no precise name, it behaves like a shadow in a dark room. You feel its presence, but you can't see its edges, so you keep bumping into it. It pushes your decisions, hijacks your tone, drains your energy, and then disappears, leaving you confused about why you acted the way you did. Most people live their entire lives like this, reacting to forces they never clearly identify. Saying, "I'm angry," or "I'm stressed," feels honest, but it's usually lazy language. Anger might be humiliation. Stress might be fear of disappointing someone. Sadness might be grief you never allowed yourself to feel. Each of these emotions asks for a different response. When you use the wrong name, you choose the wrong action. That's why effort fails and self-control breaks down at the worst moments. The brain calms when it understands. Precision reduces chaos. The moment you name an emotion accurately, something shifts inside your nervous system. The feeling stops being infinite. It becomes specific, contained, workable. You are no longer drowning in it. You are observing it. This is the real beginning of emotional mastery. Not suppression, not positivity, not pretending you're fine. Mastery starts when you look inward and say with clarity, "This is what I am actually feeling." From that moment on, the emotion no longer owns you. A manager once said he kept losing his temper at work and believed he had an anger problem. He tried breathing techniques, discipline, even silence, but nothing worked. One day, after a bad meeting, he stopped and named what he actually felt. It wasn't anger, it was humiliation. His ideas were ignored in front of others, and he felt small. The moment he named it, his reactions changed. He stopped snapping and started preparing better, speaking earlier and setting boundaries. The anger faded because the real emotion was finally addressed. A woman in her 30s thought she was lazy and unmotivated. Every evening she collapsed on the couch, scrolling on her phone, feeling guilty. She kept telling herself she needed more discipline. One night, she wrote down what she felt instead of judging it. She realized it wasn't laziness. It was exhaustion mixed with resentment. She was giving energy all day and receiving none back. Once she named that truth, she changed small things, asking for help, resting without guilt, saying no more often. Motivation slowly returned, not because she pushed harder, but because she listened better. A father believed he was overprotective with his son. He called it love. But after a close call at school, he admitted the real feeling was fear. Fear of loss he never healed from his own childhood. Naming that fear didn't make him weak. It made him conscious. He began guiding instead of controlling. In real life, emotions don't disappear when ignored. They transform into behaviors. Naming them is how you stop the damage and start choosing differently. Science supports what real life keeps proving. Naming emotions changes how the brain reacts. In a well-known study from UCLA, psychologist Matthew Lieberman showed people emotional images while scanning their brains. When participants were asked to name what they felt using specific words like fear, anger, or sadness, activity in the amygdala, the brain's alarm center, dropped significantly. At the same time, the prefrontal cortex, the part linked to reasoning and control, became more active. Simply putting precise words on feelings reduced emotional intensity. No advice, no therapy, just naming. Another study published in Psychological Science found that people who used more detailed emotional vocabulary handled stress better and recovered faster from negative events. They didn't avoid pain, but they didn't stay trapped in it. Their nervous systems calmed sooner because the brain could organize the experience instead of treating it as a threat. Even in medical settings, this matters. Patients who can clearly describe emotional distress often show better outcomes in pain management and anxiety treatment. Doctors aren't guessing. The mind isn't guessing. Precision creates cooperation inside the system. These studies reveal a hard truth. Emotional chaos is often a language problem, not a personality flaw. When feelings stay vague, the brain stays alert. When feelings are named accurately, the brain shifts from survival to regulation. Mastery doesn't begin when emotions disappear. It begins when they finally make sense. Here is the hard truth most people avoid. If you don't name your emotions, they will name your life. They decide how you speak, what you tolerate, and who you become, all without asking you. This is why people repeat the same mistakes while believing they are trying their best. Effort without emotional clarity is blind effort. Another truth is uncomfortable but freeing. Emotions are not problems to fix. They are information to read. When you judge yourself for feeling something, you shut down learning. When you get curious instead, growth starts. A person who says, "I shouldn't feel this way," stays stuck. A person who says, "What exactly am I feeling right now?" moves forward. Self-improvement fails when it skips honesty. You cannot build discipline on confusion. You cannot build confidence on unnamed fear. You cannot build peace on emotions you refuse to look at. Progress comes from accuracy, not motivation. There is also a principle many discover too late. Clarity comes before change. People want techniques, habits, and routines, but they don't want to slow down and listen. Naming an emotion is slowing down long enough to stop lying to yourself. It is choosing truth over comfort. When you practice naming emotions, your reactions become shorter and your choices cleaner. You stop over-explaining. You stop exploding or shutting down. You respond with intention instead of habit. Personal growth is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming conscious of what already lives inside you. The moment you name it clearly, you take the first real step toward mastering it. At some point, you realize that most suffering is not caused by emotions themselves, but by confusion around them. Fear feels unbearable when it has no shape. Sadness feels endless when it has no story. Anger feels dangerous when it has no direction. The mind panics when it cannot understand what the body is trying to say. Naming an emotion is an act of respect toward yourself. It says, "I am listening." And when the mind feels heard, it softens. Not because the problem is gone, but because it is no longer alone. This is why clarity brings relief even before change happens. Growth asks for courage, but not the loud kind. It asks for the quiet courage to pause, to feel, and to speak the truth inwardly. Many people distract themselves because naming the emotion would force them to face a choice. Staying in a job that drains them. Staying silent in a relationship that hurts. Facing a fear they keep calling stress. When you name what you feel, you cannot unsee it. Responsibility follows clarity, but so does freedom. You stop fighting yourself. You stop wasting energy on false battles. Mastery is not control. It is understanding. And understanding begins the moment you dare to say, honestly and precisely, "This is what I am feeling right now."